This is Travis. I'm the president of Inflow Communications. I appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Again, apologize for being a couple minutes late. I've got our director of operations, Chris Mitchell. I think we have some new attendees this time and some people that were joining us last time. So today we're going to talk about, just give you a few updates on Inflow Communications and remind some of those that are joining that are our customers how you can access our support and refresh you on some of the new things we're rolling out under our support plans that we're pretty excited about. And then we have some top administration topics that we get that Chris is going to address. We're going to do a review. We talked about this last month, review on what's coming out with the new ShoreTel cloud/premise/hybrid platform with the new communicator and the new ECC client, and et cetera. So we're, again, also very excited about that. So a little bragging here, what's new with us here at Inflow Communications. For the second year in a row, we just made Oregon's Portland Business Journal Top 100 privately fastest growing companies, Top 100. I think we're like number 51 last year, so we're excited about that. We were also just last month at the ShoreTel Global Partner Conference down in Florida, and we won the ShoreTel Contact Center Partner of the Year award, which we're excited about. Contact Center is, for those of you that don't know, is ShoreTel's advanced call center product, and the award was given based on experience, technical certifications, revenue, and other things. So we're very excited about that, as that the ShoreTel Enterprise Contact Center is a part of our practice we've been focusing on. And in addition to some of the things that we've been adding, we have our 100 world-class service guarantee. So if you interact with any one of our employees, our support employees, sales, engineering, project managers, trainers, or even our administration people, you'll see a link in our email signatures. If you ever feel you're getting less than world-class customer service, you can fill out a quick survey, and you'll be issued a $100 Amazon gift card on the spot. So we put our money where our mouth is when it comes to our customer service and wowing our customers at every interaction. So a quick refresh on Inflow Communications. We're kind of unique in the industry. We are 95% of our focus is ShoreTel. We have over 300 customers that we support that now comprises about 60,000 endpoints globally of ShoreTel that are on our support programs. We're proud that our customer attrition is down in the, I think, less than 2% range at this point. And what differentiates us is our passion for service. Every one of our engineers, support staff, project managers, trainers have years of experience in ShoreTel, so we're very focused on the ShoreTel platform. We don't try and be all things to everybody. And in addition to being very focused, going back to putting our money where our mouth is, we also publish all of our live support statistics to our website. So if you get a chance to go up there, you'll see a response time, real-time customer satisfaction. It's all built into our help desk system. This is all email support metrics here. So we focus on answering the phone, or responding very quickly, resolving as quickly as we can, and keeping our customers exceptionally happy. So we're excited about that. So we throw this slide up because we've been focusing on providing as much value as we can that has the most meaning for our customers. So we have 2 support plans, and you'll notice some additional things. So some of you that, those of you that are on our support plans, as we get into your renewal period, we'll be adding some of these additional services. There's the very basic stuff, the hardware replacement, software upgrades that we'll do for you. The unlimited phone, email support, 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We're also a 24/7 shop, so we always have an on-call engineer. That 8 to 5 also includes web chat, by the way. So if you go to our website and you want to get web chat support, you can initiate support that way. You can also go to our website and log on with your support credentials and manage all your tickets that way as well. Some of the things that we're adding that is new, the Inflow backup and restore service. So backup service will back up your HQ, your director configuration database up to our secure server in the Amazon cloud. So that's more of a kind of a disaster recovery business continuity solution in case you lose your server and lose your configuration. The inflow analytics, which we have a quick slide on that, we're very happy with. Most of our customers are getting that upon the renewal. That's taking ShoreTel reporting to a whole new level. As far as user reporting, group reporting, as well configuration reporting, cradle to grave reporting. It's a fantastic value add that our customers have been very excited about. In this webinar that you're on, we're providing complimentary monthly admin training. So that's now available to all of our customers. And then as you get into our Platinum, that's more of a fully managed offering. So unlimited user training, web-based user training, unlimited moves, ads, changes, and carrier liaison services. And that's something that our Platinum customers really like. That's where we'll essentially act as your agent on behalf of you with a carrier, and we'll be the ones that sit on the phone and drive our heads into a wall, escalating and getting resolution with carriers. Carriers can be the bane of our existence at times, and so we're finding out that's a very value-added service that we're providing for our Platinum customers. Because we're so excited about the inflow analytics piece, this is just a few quick screenshots on some of the very many things that we're providing for our customers. Cradle to grave reporting is incredible with this, so I can type in a phone number or a time and I can watch it. You can see the slide, the screenshots down on the lower left-hand side that shows where the call came in, what route point it hit, where it got transferred, what auto attendant it went to, what work group it went to, ECC group, what user, etc., what parts of the call were recorded if you're using the ShoreTel call recorder. So cradle to grave reporting, just the absolute simplicity and beauty of the other reporting piece of the package is user activity, trunk activity, every piece of data that ShoreTel can report on, just a lot better and a lot cleaner. And something else that our customers love about the inflow analytics package is quickly seeing exactly how the system is set up and programmed. So whereas let's say you have an executive ask you, how exactly is our call flow set up? Instead of scrolling through a bunch of different screens in ShoreTel Director and trying to figure it out, maybe putting into a Visio, press a button, go, you can see exactly call comes in when anybody dials this DID or this 800 number, if you're looking at the top of this display here, goes into our support auto attendant. Here's my support auto attendant options. So within a second, it can give you a complete printout of all of your call flow, as well as a click of another button. You can see all of your DSP, IP phone resources in use. You can look at your licensing utilization, a DID, DNS report map, all kinds of great things. So customers are really liking this, especially those that are doing quite a bit around work group and call center and a little bit more advanced call flow and things like that. So, and Chris, jump in here if I'm forgetting anything. So we just wanted to talk a little bit more about inflow analytics and how excited we are about that.
All right, just flipping screens here for me. All right, so what we usually do is we look at our ticketing system over the last month, and I try to pick a couple of topics that we have multiple requests from different customers. So the first one we're going to talk about today is event notifications. And this has been a big one lately. You know, we've had a lot of customers with, PRI problems and everything like that. So event notifications is the way that you can have the system do email alerts to your, the IT manager or the IT team to let you know of different events that have occurred in the ShoreTel system. A big one that we're doing in the education space is you can do email alerts for 911 calls. So it can work in a lot of different companies if you're looking to be alerted when you have a 911 call that comes in, or if you have a D channel down on your PRI, or you have a fan issue and stuff. We'll cover some of the most common event filters. So the easiest way to kind of think about this is how many times have you had a problem with your ShoreTel system, and the way you find out about it is from one of your end users. They say, hey, I'm trying to call this phone number and I just get, reorder tone on my display. So that's where we can use the event notifications. So we simply log into your ShoreTel Director, underneath your maintenance section, select event filters. What that'll do is allow you to click new and to build a custom filter. And this is usually where you need to know what you're looking for. So we'll kind of cover what the process is for building an event filter, and then you can kind of go back into your system after today and build whichever event filters you want. And Travis is going to send out this PowerPoint presentation afterwards, so you'll be able to grab these event IDs and stuff out of the presentation to build your own alerts later today. So we hit new. So on the very top we have our server options. So if you have only one server, it's great. You can just leave the voicemail server selected. If you have multiple servers, I recommend selecting all. The advantage is we want to be able to monitor any switch that's assigned to any of our servers, not just on our primary ShoreTel server. Under source, if you just leave it on Shoreware and any, it'll monitor all of the ShoreTel services. You could also use this to monitor a particular Windows service on the ShoreTel server. I don't know of any of our customers that are using it to monitor just a regular Windows service, but you could. And then we design all of our event filters that we set up, recommend to customers by event IDs. So you can see the event ID, we went ahead and selected 1342. And 1342 in this case is a D channel down. So if we lose our D channel on one of our PRIs, go ahead and send an alert. And you can see on type is all, so any alert or event that has a 1342, and then the email address at the bottom. So you can only put one email address in there. So I did engineering, which is like a distribution list that we use to alert us of these things, which goes to multiple engineers. If you need to create these alerts to go to multiple people instead of a distribution list, you can simply save it and hit the copy button on the top, and then just change the email address on the bottom, and you can create multiple alerts of this, for the same event ID. So when your D channel goes down, what does it look like? So you get it. This is what the event ID looks like on the ShoreTel server itself. So what it's going to do is it's going to take a copy of this. It's going to email it out to you. So this is what you would see. So switch SGT1K. So that's the name of the switch. So if you were to name your switches differently, whatever the name of your switch is, you're going to see there. So if you wanted to name your switches Portland PRI or Seattle PRI, or Seattle T1K, something like that, that would let you know which switch is having a D channel down. It also gives you the IP address, so based on IP schemes what location that falls into. So this is what the information is going to look like that you'll receive via email. And they will vary a little bit just depending on what event ID you're receiving. So the big question we always get is, what event ID should we be monitoring? So we came up with a list of the most common ones reading out of the, you can pull, there's an appendix for event IDs. I believe it's in the maintenance guide, and it's probably got 20 pages of event IDs. So we kind of went through those and found the most common event IDs. So the switch event ID 140, it tells you if your flash memory in your switch is throwing errors. A lot of time we'll see that one on system upgrades. The nice thing about the ShoreTel system is if you get a switch or an event ID of 140, your system isn't going to be down. The system has back-end memory that we can FTP boot off the server and bypass the flash memory to still keep that up and running, so we can get an RMA switch out, to that remote site while without losing functionality of that, that site's phone system or phone. So that's a big feature on the built into the ShoreTel switches. The next one is the event ID is 162, and this will just let you know if the ShoreTel system is, is registering 2 IP addresses with different MAC addresses on your network. So it's a good thing to monitor just for, by chance if something happens to get put on the network with the same IP as one of your ShoreTel switches. If the system sees 2 different MAC addresses, it will report that. Or if you RMA a switch and you swap it out and you forget to change the MAC address, then you can get an alert that the MAC address isn't what it should be in the database. The next two kind of go together. It's 166 and 167. The only moving parts in the ShoreTel switches is the fan. So 167 is a fan moving slow, and that just usually means the ball bearings are going out. If you get a 167, usually it means let's open up a support ticket so we can get that switch RMA'd. Once it goes to 166, that means the fan is no longer working. ShoreTel does test all their switches to run for a set amount of time without any fans, especially if you have your switches running in like a server room. they're going to be perfectly fine running without a fan for a set period of time, giving us enough time to get that switch arm made. 170, 171 kind of go together too, and the only time we really see these, the warning or the temperature exceeding, is for switches that we have in smaller networking closets that don't have air conditioning or something like that, and on hot summer days. Then we'll get the temperature warnings on those switches. So that's one thing to just kind of be aware of if you're putting switches in networking closets and stuff like that have minimal ventilation, that we want to kind of monitor those event IDs so that if we do get a temperature warning, we can either move the switches, or address the temperature in that room with a smaller air conditioning unit or some kind of ventilation for that room. Event 1319, when we talked about earlier, I talked a little bit, is the emergency services call or 911 call. If you set that one up, it'll actually send an alert out, and it's nice. It says there was an emergency services call placed from this IP address and this user at this time. So you get the time of the call, you'll get the IP address of the phone, and you'll get the user currently assigned to that phone when a 911 call was placed. So you could send those emails out to a group of users outside of your IT team if you wanted to, or to the front desk, so that if you have the ambulance or fire truck show up at the front desk, they know exactly what location placed that 911 call. That's a nice notification you can do. ShoreTel has some emergency services apps that you can buy that can do screen pops and stuff for your front desk and stuff like that. If you need a little bit more functionality than just an email notification. 1342 and 1343, these are your PRI, and the nice thing is we build an alert for each one of these, and it will monitor all of the PRIs that you have in your system. So if you have 5, 6, 7, 8 PRIs, it will monitor all of them at the same time, so we don't have to set up multiple alerts. D channel, some people just want the down. I recommend doing the up also, so that when your D channel does come back up after being down, you do get an alert and say, oh look, yep, looks like the carrier was able to fix it. It came back up now. We should be able to test our outbound calls or inbound calls. And the last one is 1899. So a lot of people ask me, what's CSIS? CSIS is the service on the server that controls communicator. So if the CSIS service fails to start on the server, none of your communicator clients are gonna be able to log in and work. So that's a good service to monitor on your HQ server. Just allowing you to know ahead of time, oh, are we going to have a communicator issue this morning because at 2 o'clock when we did database maintenance, the CSIS service failed to start back up. That's another important one to just kind of monitor and be aware of. Usually you can resolve that issue just by restarting your server, because a service started up before it should have, and you can resolve that pretty easily by restarting your ShoreTel server before the workday starts, or at the end of a workday if we're having an issue. All right, so we get a lot of questions. What's the best practices when an employee leaves the company? Most of our customers say, well, we're replacing this person with a new employee, so doing the same job, it's actually easier for me if I just rename the employee that's already in the system and change their password. The biggest reason not to do that is, from a time perspective, if I just change the user's name, so we replace Bob, with Jim. Jim now has to go in and re-record all 5 of Bob's voicemail greetings, and change his recorded name, change his cell phone for call forwarding, change the number of rings before it goes to voicemail. There's just a lot of different settings that have to be changed in the system. And a lot of time what happens is customers call and say, well, we recorded all the voicemail greetings work fine, but when I do the dial by name directory and I type in somebody's name, I spell Jim, but I still get Bob's name in there. And it's because the name recording hasn't been changed. So we've came up with a 3-step process for dealing with an employee leaving. And then the next topic we're going to talk about is the new employee setup. So the first thing we should do, log into Director, go to our individual users page, and find the user that's leaving the company or has left the company already. And we want to scroll to the bottom and reset their voicemail password, because obviously we don't have a way to look up what their voicemail password was. So let's just change it to 1234 and click the Save button at the top to make that change. Once we've changed it, we can go ahead and provide that extension number and the password to the supervisor or whoever's over that department and ask them to check the voicemail of that user and either forward the messages to another person, delete the messages, and kind of just clean out that mailbox so that we can delete that user once it's completed. Pretty easy process. If a user walks up to their phone, hits the voicemail button, and hits the pound key, it'll get out of their mailbox and allow them to check somebody else's mailbox. So pretty easy process they can do from any phone in the building. Have them, have that supervisor report back to you. Say, okay, yep, that voicemail is cleared out. So step 3, we simply log back into the user account, and we hit the delete button at the very top of the page, and and it deletes that user. A couple of things to note on that user: if you're replacing that user with a new employee, it's nice thing is to jot down the extension number and the DID for that employee. If you're going to reassign them to somebody else filling in that role, it's just nice to have the same extension number, DID. Just kind of jot those down so you don't have to look for an available extension number or DID to assign to that user. All right, so new hire. This is a thing we usually recommend for most customers is to document their new hire processes. So that way, if you have a new hire process within your your Active Directory, your email system, and your ShoreTel system, you have a nice document that any of your IT staff employees can use to create a new hire inside your ShoreTel phone system. So the first thing we want to do is obviously log in a director, go to our users, individual users, and on the very top, we want to select in the drop-down what site we want to add them to. So most of you might think that this might be a little bit different. Is a lot of customers will go in and they'll select an existing user and hit the copy button. And for years, that was our best practices, is to use the copy feature, because you get a copy of the user group the person's assigned to, what their license is. The disadvantage of that we found, since ShoreTel's been adding more and more features, is it copies the system directory entry. So if I've went into my user account and I've put in my cell phone number as a system directory entry, and then I copy my user account into a new user, when Travis goes in and types in that person's name, they're going to get their extension number, but they're also going to get my cell phone number listed in the directory. So we've put in some requests in ShoreTel to figure out why they're copying directory entries, and they said it is something they're looking at. So as of right now, that's one of the big things. And also external assignments. So if I have like my cell phone number built in there to forward my calls to, it'll copy that setup also. So if I'm forwarding calls out to my cell phone and you copy my user, that user, when you call the phone number, is going to ring out to my cell phone number again. And then you're like, well, I wasn't trying to get a hold of Chris. So that's the reason that we recommend just building a new user from scratch. It's a pretty simple process to build a new user. But go ahead and build one from scratch so that you're not copying any of those directory entries or cell phone numbers in the database and creating a little bit more work for you to clean up down the road. So we're ready to build a new, so we got rid of the user who left in the system. We're ready to build that replacement. So we start with a fresh entry. Here, on the very top, we have the Active Directory user. So if you're using the Active Directory integration, I'm not a huge fan of ShoreTel's Active Directory integration. It does seem to work. It's a one-to-one integration. So what I would do there is I would put in a domain name and a username, and I'd hit sync, and it would pull that information from Active Directory and populate my first name, my last name, my email address, my user ID, and my communicator password. And then any phone numbers that we have in AD is what it's going to populate. I would still have some fields to populate in here, but it doesn't do any permanent syncing. So if you go in and add some additional information, like maybe a cell phone number in AD, or it's a female who gets married and you change her last name, you have to manually go in here and hit the sync from AD button again to pull any of those changes in. So it's not a great solution yet. ShoreTel is making some big changes coming down the road for their Active Directory to give it a more of an actual integration instead of just like a one-way read, a manual read every time. So we're building a user. Obviously, we need to give it a first name and a last name. And then we want to take that extension number. If we're replacing that employee, we put that extension number in here where it says number. And then we have our license type. So in license type, do we want this person to have a mailbox or just an extension? So if we just need an extension, we can, in the drop-down, select extension only. Most of your regular employees are going to be extension and mailbox, so we just accept that. Your access license, 90% of your access license are going to be personal. That's just your regular communicator license. You have the different license options you have is you have operator for your, for a few operators that you have. You have your work group agent and work group supervisor for people who need to log in and out of small ACD call queues in the ShoreTel system. You also have professional. Professional license is users who you want to be able to do custom call routing. So the professional feature gives you a professional access license, but it gives you the capability to do personalized call handling rules. So I could build a rule that says when this employee's cell phone number calls me, even if I'm in out of office mode, go ahead and ring it, ring it in. Or if this phone number calls, always send it to voicemail because it's just a spam number and they're calling me over and over for no reason. So anytime this number calls, send it to voicemail because I don't want to talk to that person. I try to tell them to take me off the dialing list. So that's probably the biggest reason that people use professional license. Then you have your caller ID. You don't have to fill in your caller ID. By default, caller ID will fill in with your DID if you have it, or if you don't have a DID assigned to this user, it'll fill in with the main number for the location that they're at. One note on caller ID can be an 800 number also, as long as your telephone carrier supports you passing out 800 numbers. In the real estate market, a lot of them, they want their cell phone number to be the caller ID, so that way when they call out from their desk and people would then call back to their cell phone, which they have with them all the time. So caller ID is customizable on a per user basis. Then we assign the DID. We pick the DID that we took off the previous employee that we deleted. So in our case, the last 4 of the DID matches the extension, which is pretty much the industry standard now. If you're doing 4-digit extensions and you have enough DIDs and stuff to accommodate it, a lot of our customers do have the last 4 of the DIDs matching the extension matching the DID. The last major thing you want to do on this that you can see on this screen is the user group. So I skipped over PST and failover. PST and failover is a setting where you can, if you lose access between locations, so like if our MPLS goes down between Seattle and Portland and I dial the new higher extension number, the system can say, oh, well, I can't reach them across the MPLS. Let me just go ahead and grab my dial tone and place a call to that person's DID. And you can have the system auto dial the DID when the MPLS is down. So that's what a PST and failover is. Some of our customers use it, and and some of them, it's not that big a deal because their MPLS, if it is down, it's down for a short period of time. It's back up, and they don't necessarily have the dial tone space to keep dialing around for every extension call between sites. So last one on this screen, you have your user group. User group is important because user group is how ShoreTel does all the permissions. So if you are looking for a way to restrict international dialing or long distance dialing or number of voicemails a person can store, or how old they should be able to store, how long they should be able to store their voicemails. Should they only be able to store their voicemails for 90 days or 120 days? You can do all of that in user group permissions. So there's a lot of capabilities inside of user groups to restrict the number of people on a conference call that a user can do, or should they be able to use overhead paging systems. So if you're looking to do any kind of restrictions on a group of phones, user group is where you're going to do it. And feel free to reach out to our support team for any help you need on customizing a user group or building a special user group. The couple other things you need to assign when you build a user is, I didn't screenshot the bottom of the page, I probably should have, but as you scroll down, you can set the user's email address so that they can get email notifications. By default, their voicemail password is 1234, and their communicator password is change me. Those could be changed. Most customers leave them because the first time a new employee sets up their mailbox, they're going to get asked for a new password. And sets up their communicator, they're going to get asked for a new communicator, so it won't stay as change me. So those things I usually recommend just leaving as default because it's going to have the new employee change those to permanent passwords that is more relevant or works for them better. The other couple things you can do when you build a user is you can select what voicemail server to put their voicemail box on. If you have multiple servers, you can locate their mailbox on a server closer to them with a drop-down for voicemail server. And you can also assign an IP phone. If you already know the MAC address of the phone that they're going to be using, you can assign it to the new employee when you start. The next thing I'm actually going to be covering is extension assignment, so you can walk up to a phone and assign an extension. And that's how we're doing our new deployments with the new 400 series phones is we build all the users and then we deploy the phones and we walk up to each phone and we just log in that user into that phone, and that becomes, you know, their phone if nobody was logged into that phone to start with. So a couple things you could do to kind of minimize, if you happen to know the MAC address, go ahead and assign it to the user so that way when that employee starts on Monday or whenever they're starting, their name's already displayed on their phone. But a lot of time the IT team doesn't know what the MAC address is of that phone. So you can do it multiple ways as far as assigning IP phones. So extension assignment, you know, this is becoming more and more common with our customers. We have, you know, customers moving between offices or having a pool of employees that aren't always in the office, so they want to have 2 or 3 or 4 cubicles that people can just come in and sit on. And I actually just had a conversation with a customer, you know, in Portland about this. Is they're running out of space in their office building, so they want to have the capability to maybe put a, you know, a group of cubicles together that different employees can come in and work for the day, but they're not permanent employees at the, you know, at the building. They're remote employees or work from home or sales reps. So they want to have just a group of phones that are just not assigned to anybody. So this, if you have phones that aren't assigned to anybody, it's actually one step easier for extension assignment. Because as you can see from the screen here, if I walk up, so here's my one disclaimer. It does need to be a 480 or 485 of the new 400 series phones. On the 200 series, if you have 230s or 212s or 560s or 565s or, you know, those phones, they do have the capability to do hot desking, but it's through the voicemail system. So you have to have a voicemail, and you log into your voicemail box, and you can assign a phone or unassign a phone via the voicemail system. On the new phones, that was one big feature that customers wanted. So ShoreTel added the capability to do hot desking built into the 400 series phones a lot easier. So that's my one disclaimer, is that as you're buying new phones or replacing phones in your company, I would definitely buy 400 series phones. They have visual voicemail instead of, you know, just regular, you know, dial-in voicemail, but you get the hot desking features, and the pricing is pretty much, you know, it's pretty close to identical to what the 200 series phones.
Also, with the 400 series phones, you get presence built in to the display on the 400 series, 480 to 485, where you can hit the directory and you can actually see present status, which is nice. So that the visual voicemail and the ability to assign extensions from the displays, some of the nicest features. Plus, they all have they have 8 buttons, programmable buttons.
Yeah. So as I walk up to, you know, to a 400 series phone, you can see that this is a picture from my display sitting, you know, on my desk. I just took it with my iPhone. You can see that this is assigned to me permanently. If this wasn't a permanently assigned phone, it wouldn't say Chris on the top. It would actually say anonymous. And where the button says pickup, you would actually see an assign button there. So that actually takes one step out of this. In this case, I don't see an assign button because it's my phone. So if the user wanted to log into this phone, they would walk up to my desk and they would press the options button. So like I said, instead of pressing the options button, you would just hit the assign button directly if it was an unassigned phone, so if you had a whole group of these phones. When I hit the options button, I'm going to get a screen pop up. It's asking me for the voicemail password. Sometimes this confuses users that they have to put the voicemail password in for that user, and it's a little misleading. You do see the little assign button down in the bottom left-hand corner. If I just simply press the button under assign, it actually bypasses the voicemail password. I don't need to know Chris's voicemail password in order to assign my extension to his phone. So you simply ignore the voicemail, hit the cancel or the assign button. If you hit cancel, it just takes you back to the main screen. So I can simply hit the assign button right here. It'll take me to the next screen. The next screen is going to take me to the assigned user. And this is how we build, we're assigning users to permanent phones and stuff too, or just allowing, users. to take over a phone. So extension number, I keyed in 7535, which is my same extension. And then I need to know the voicemail password of that user. If it's a brand new user, their voicemail password is going to be 1234. So as I key in whatever the voicemail password, I hit the OK button, or I can do the backspace if I typed wrong. Then it's going to say, please wait while we reassign your extension to this telephone. If it's a brand new user, you will get another pop-up after this that says, hey, please pick a permanent voicemail password, because we want a new user to permanently pick a new password. It will let them cancel out of that, but every time they do this, they will get prompted to pick a new password, or every time they check their voicemail, they will get prompted to pick a permanent voicemail password every time they're assigning their user. So once I hit the OK button here, this user on the screen will change to whatever user I'm logging into. So pretty quick process. I either hit the assign button on an unassigned phone, or I hit the options and assign. I put in my information, hit OK, the phone becomes mine. So I work for a day, and then a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get back? What if I forget to unassign my extension, and Chris comes back and I'm logged into his phone? In my communicator client, I can select primary phone, and that'll move my extension back to my desk. Or if I'm at my actual phone, I can simply do the exact same thing. I can hit options, assign, and put my information back in and take my phone back over. It'll send that user back to their default phone, or if they don't have a default phone, it'll just send their calls to voicemail, until they reassign themselves to a default phone. The other thing I can do is, if I'm looking to stop using this phone, if it's not my default phone, I'll actually have an unassigned button right where it says clear on the bottom of the screen. There'll actually be an unassigned button there. I simply click that button, it'll move my extension off of the person's phone and become their own phone again. So very easy to unassign phones. Like I said, the customer in Seattle that we have with the 40 phones or so, the users hit the assign button, they log in, and when they're done with their shift in their call center, they simply hit the unassigned button, and it takes their extension back off of it, and it goes back to an anonymous phone ready for another user to log into that phone. So the nice feature about this in using the 400 series phone is we have another customer in Portland that's a medical clinic, and they've been using this feature for their doctors and their nurses, but they've been buying voicemail boxes, because on the 200 series phones, they have to have a voicemail box to assign their extension. By moving to 400 series phones, they're able to save the additional $60 on a voicemail license for those users who don't need voicemail, and still allow them to assign their extension on the 400 series phones without having a voicemail box for the users who don't need it. So that's another advantage of being able to use the quick assign capability. All right, so that was extension assignment there. And we are back to you, Travis.
So this is a refresh, really, from we really added note slides. So if some of you missed this, I'm going to kind of cruise over this pretty high level. A lot of the reasons, just because some of it's still, the glue's still drying, and some of it's still slightly in the concept phase. Although we've seen a lot of these tools at the ShoreTel Partner Conference in action. So a sneak peek. So ShoreTel is probably in I would say, one of the most exciting times that I've ever seen. I've been working in the UC space for a long time, specifically ShoreTel since 2002-ish. And this is probably one of the more exciting times. So they're coming out with their Connect One platform. So ShoreTel a few years ago bought a company called M5, which is what we'd probably consider one of the more white glove, higher end service, higher end hosted phone system platforms out of New York. And we've been impatient for ShoreTel to get to where they're at today, but there was just a lot of work to be done, completely rewriting all of the code on the ShoreTel product and merging the two. So what's going to come out is going to be three different rollout options, similar to what you have today, all on-site. That would be on-site ShoreTel switches, voice switches, which obviously can now be virtualized, or they can still reside on the appliance. ShoreTel's coming out with some new higher capacity appliance-based ShoreTel switches, ShoreGear switches, And then contact center would be the enterprise contact center locally running either on a dedicated server or in a virtual environment. Same with mobility. Mobility has traditionally been an appliance base and now can also be virtualized along with a conference bridge. And of course, your PSTA and your public switch telephone network, your dial tone would be plugged in locally, whether that's SIP, PRI, analog. If you are, on a side note, deciding to go SIP, please contact us and work through that with us when it comes to session border controllers and carriers, etc. That was a side note. Or the all-cloud deployment, which you can buy now, which looks very unlike what you've ever seen with ShoreTel. It's the older M5 desktop tool, the older M5 admin consoles and things like that. That's changing quickly. And so in that case, you could put everything in the cloud. Regardless of if you were to go all on-site or all in the cloud with ShoreTel Connect, it's all the same code, right? So it's the same desktop tool. It's the same user interface, the same mobility. It's the same technology. It's a common code across both deployment options. Of course, if you had an all-cloud option, essentially, we would deliver IP handsets. And generally, the 400 IP handsets, you can repurpose some of the Cisco IP handsets, and those would connect back across either a public internet connection, where maybe for a few phone office we would be okay with, but we generally recommend a dedicated connection into the ShoreTel data centers over an MPLS connection with quality of service and have it be a fully managed connection. But in that case, PSTN's in the cloud. You port your numbers over to ShoreTel. They control all of that, and now you're on a fully month-to-month cloud or hosted model. But then this is what I'm the most excited about as a hybrid, right? Because regardless of what Kool-Aid seminar you go to, you know, is everything going cloud? Is everything going premise? You know, where are we at? Well, it really it varies by the organization, right? I always tell my customers it's kind of a white canvas. Are you a larger centralized organization where you have mission-critical applications like contact center for scheduling if you're a hospital, or it's your moneymaker through a call center? Do you have a more centralized IT staff? Are you distributed out? Do you have a lot of small offices that have just a few people in them? Are you growing quickly? Are you seasonal? How are you used to consuming technology? Is it more CapEx? Is it OpEx? And there's a slew of scenarios that would either fit you into one of the categories or possibly both. Well, Travis, we have a larger headquarters office with 2 large regional offices with IT personnel, but then we have a lot of small mortgage offices, for example. We do a lot in the finance industry. And so with a hybrid product, you can mix and match, which is going to be really exciting. I can have premise-based equipment, but perhaps I roll out remote sites under ShoreTel's, what they call it Sky, ShoreTel Sky option, which is their cloud option. But it's a common look and feel between the users. They're used to using the same communicator application. They're used to using, if you're running contact center, it's similar, right? So some of the other things that are coming out with Connect across all the platforms is a brand new communicator. So no longer are you going to have to be stuck with a Mac client that's the features are watered down. It's going to be a common Mac or a common client, whether PC or Mac across the board. We have some screenshots on another slide. Very beautiful web-based ECC client. So in that case, you can pick and choose, or perhaps I want to have the core of my voice switches and my dial tone on site, but maybe I want to start consuming some other UC applications in the cloud, like mobility or some of the other applications that ShoreTel has that are going to be introducing to those of you who are used to the premise side, like Scribe, which is a speech-to-text service for voicemail transcription, or a cloud-based fax server option, or maybe, like I said, you want to consume mobility in the cloud. So it's going to be pretty customizable. I can tell you though, some of the first iterations of the Connect product, from what I've seen, there will be some caveats. One of the ones, you know, shared presence across a premise and a cloud user, not so much. Yes, they can use the same, they can forward dial each other, but that's about it. How does the management happen? There's going to be Director, which is the management portal on-prem, and then there's going to be another the Sky portal, which is managing your cloud users. So it's not going to be fully integrated, but this is the step one. And I know a lot of our customers are excited to get, hey, I want 4-digit dialing. It's really all I need right now, and that's one step closer to this pure hybrid model. And that's where we see us playing in the fat middle. And Inflow is a Sky-enabled partner, and we've been rolling out some of the more native Sky solutions for some of our customers, and so we have a pretty good experience on the pros and cons of that we'd be happy to share with you and talk you through that. So we can't obviously let us show you a live demo of this. I think secretly Chris might be running this on his desktop, but this is going to be the new client. It's going to be a lot cleaner, we think, a lot more this generation. It would start out small and can expand, say on this example from the left to right. Like I mentioned before, same client for PC and Mac, no feature loss on the Mac side. There's going to be some nomenclature changes. Instead of contacts, you're going to have favorites. Instead of a history tab that just shows all of your call history, it's going to be basically all of your recent interactions, so calls, voicemail, IM. So it's a lot more conducive to today's collaboration environment, which is not just phone and telephony. It's going to be, again, one-click button. I can desktop share, one-click I can instant message, one-click I can call, and one pane of glass I can see all my interactions. Instead of just doing calendar integration for call handling mode, there's going to be more an event integration or events integration out of your Outlook calendar. The ability to, instead of going into your web conference portal, which you have to do now to create conference calls, or Outlook, which is how we do it, you can create conference calls on the fly directly from the client, and that would be Meet Me conference. It's not the ad hoc, let's add a couple people and talk, but how do we set up a conference call. Photo integration with Active Directory or LinkedIn. We're not going to have a separate window for instant messaging. The desktop sharing piece isn't going to be as clunky. It's going to be nice. 4-way video call. So currently with ShoreTel, the professional licensing, you can do a one point-to-point video call. This is going to open it up to 4. Set up call handling modes, availability states. This is the one we really like. VPN-less access. So some of the core technology, whether it's residing in ShoreTel's cloud or on-premise, it's going to allow your users basically to be remote on internet connection and connect their communicator instead of having to set up a separate software-based VPN connection. And then the soft phone, and this is another one. We've always thought for a while we thought the ShoreTel soft phones were a little clunky. I think ShoreTel built some protocols in there that could have been updated a while ago. So this is redesigning the soft phone to use all the current SIP standards. So and if you look on the left-hand side here, you'll see, how it's laid out, an idea of how it's going to be laid out. There's all of your interactions. In the middle, your events, which is integrated with your Outlook calendaring, and et cetera. And this is where, if we were to expand, this is an example of how we can expand this, say, from the left to the right, where if someone was to click on the recents, it would show all the recent. You have a couple options. You can do all the voicemails, all the instant messaging conversations, all the phone calls, and let's say Chris selected Ed Wright, which was a voicemail that he missed, and then you could play the voicemail, forward it, do all the things you can do right now with communicator and voicemail, but then it can further expand out to additional interactions you can do on the fly right out of that screen. So you could click the camera, which it's grayed out in this particular picture, but that could maybe initiate a video call with Ed. You can initiate a phone call by clicking the big green call button, which I'm assuming you would have to do that before you would initiate the video call. And then you would have the kind of the 3 circles that are connected with the lines. That would be a desktop sharing session. And then we can add another participant to that. Meanwhile, doing all the instant messaging, et cetera. So again, it's kind of hard to describe. This isn't really for demo purposes. This is just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the communicator is going to look like when we get to this point. So end of life, the beloved 200 series phones, 500 series phones are still supported. Don't worry that all of a sudden you're going to have to go rip out all 1,000 of your handsets. They're still going to be supported for many years to come. It's just that they're not selling them anymore. And so Chris had listed out kind of the equivalents, the 110 to the 420, which is more of your break room lobby phone. ShoreTel's workhorse for years, the 230s, now the 480, which, by the way, gives you 5 extra buttons, visual voicemail, presence in your directories tab, and the ability to reassign your extensions easily. So some of the G-series phones, and the date is moved around on this, some of the G-series phones are going to be extended out a little bit longer, because right now the remote IP phone capability, like I'm talking on an IP230G right now sitting at my home office, some of those are going to be extended because that's how you handle the remote VPN phones. So the ShoreTel would use the VPN concentrator in the G-series phones. That's going away, I believe, with the Edge. Is the Edge gateway that's providing that in the new Connect platform? So then the 400 series phones, you wouldn't need a VPN concentrator. 400 series phones would connect back through the public internet that way.
Yeah, the Edge gateway is what's going to control your external access to communicator over 443 and your VPN phones.
So communicator and phones, no VPN concentrator, none of that. It's going to be nice. 655 is still going to be around, the nice big color touchscreen phone, and ShoreTel's mobility, their deck phone is going to be around. Yeah, like Chris said, if you're adding phones, add the 400 series phones. They need to be on release 14. So this is just, actually I threw this slide up kind of last minute. What else do you want to know more about? We always hate hearing that our customers, that perhaps we weren't sharing as much information as we can. So ShoreTel mobility, right, can be appliance or virtualized, can be consumed as a cloud service. This is basically taking your communicator, which is presence and instant messaging and video, and your enterprise voicemail and all of your telephony, your enterprise controls like conferencing, transferring, etc., putting it on an Android, putting it on an iOS device. So we showed some pictures of an iPhone, all iOS here. We're not biased or anything, I guess, but we have it on an iPhone, showing we can now works on the watch, which is pretty cool. The iPad and the iPhone's docked. So this is really great. I can be on any Wi-Fi connection anywhere, really anywhere in the world. I don't have to VPN in separately. It just connects securely. And you know, this product over the last few years, it had some bumps. And we've definitely been there with our customers experiencing some of the bumps. But I'll tell you that it seems to me that this product has gained a lot of traction. We have a lot of our customers using this. So there's still little glitches here and there, things to think about. We try and keep our customers in the know about. Battery consumption seems to be a common complaint on mobility. Chris, I don't know if you have any other common complaints, but for the most part, we're seeing this we use it all the time in our office, and we have a lot of our customers that are adopting it pretty rapidly these days. So, like I said, we feel this is the future of UC, especially when you can take a tablet and dock it and do things like that. So, ShoreTel conferencing, the SA products. So, it's a very cost-effective solution for audio conferencing, desktop sharing. It also provides the back-end instant messaging. You can virtualize this now. You can actually virtualize a ShoreTel SA, not license it up with any web or conference ports, and use it for instant messaging. There's been some bumps on the security side that we're working through with some customers, but all in all, it's a very inexpensive way to deliver some pretty decent tools. So, we just show this in case people want to understand more about it. ShoreTel Enterprise Contact Center. This is something that we've seen where customers, there was some eye-opening, specifically customers that had maybe even smaller call centers using work groups. You get into a whole new world with ShoreTel's Enterprise Contact Center, and really a lot of business sort of alignment things can happen with ShoreTel's Enterprise Contact Center. So the reporting is through the roof better than work groups. You can pick and choose agents who log in and log out. You've got more advanced functionality like priority-based routings, skills-based routing, the ability to do database dips and make call decisions based on database dips, screen pops, and CRM integration, and so a lot of exciting things. And the reason I wanted to talk about this because we've learned that oftentimes people didn't know it's fairly, as far as advanced call center or contact center products go, it's fairly reasonably priced, and there's a lot of flexibility. Like we're moving over. We've moved from us personally. We've moved over from work groups to enterprise contact center, and we're going to be doing things around some skills-based routing and some CRM integration and delivering some wallboard information to our website. We're very big about being transparent. So right now we're pushing our email statistics to the website. We're going to work with one of our wallboard partners, SGS Solutions, to deliver call statistics as well as the integrating with our help desk platform. So just a whole different business discussion around call center and contact center and integrating things like email and live web chat and things like that with this product. So just wanted to throw it out there if anybody thinks there might be a need or an interest. We wanted to let you know that we're good at it. We're actually, ShoreTel's Contact Center Partner of the Year, and we're pretty well versed, and we're about ready to do a 750 seat enterprise contact center rollout nationwide. So we have some pretty good guys around this. The only other announcements to make is please, if you have any friends that have ShoreTel or any colleagues in the industry that have ShoreTel, then if they're not an inflow customer, that's okay. We'd love to have them on these calls, and hopefully they can get some value out of this. Anytime we can be an ambassador and an advocate for the product, we love to do so. We hate running into a new customer that might not like ShoreTel, but they've just been with maybe they just haven't been educated, or they've been with the wrong support partner. It's a great product, and we love to share that with people. That's all I have. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.